Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Just my first request of a few. Please let us know in the chat where you are located. It'll help us schedule timing of future events. And a special thank you if you are joining us in the early morning hours from the Pacific time zone and further west. Please also share one funky, quirky, fun, or unusual fact about yourself in the chat, primarily because I want to know how many hikers there are in the group, but also because I hope you find your next collaboration by doing so. I'll start by admitting my favorite adventure buddy, my daughter, helped me realize I am hooked on getting a serotonin rush. In the past few years, she has convinced me to do a mud run, hike to Everest Base Camp, go zip lining, ocean kayaking, and parasailing, among other things. And I know I wouldn't have done any of those things without her. A couple more requests before we start the meeting. Please mute yourselves and put all questions in the chat. If we cannot respond to them during the meeting, we will respond by email later. Also, we cannot share contact information, so please use the chat to do so. And um, let me, you know what, I'm sorry, I need to turn on my slides. Let me just do that. Okay. So we have set up a WhatsApp chat group, and here's the link. We are honored today to have two distinguished guest speakers for today's presentation, Drs. David Weindorf and Dr. Shomshubro Chakraborty. They define what successful collaboration looks like. One of our group's objectives is to offer events where members can connect and plant the seed for future collaboration. And their presentation today will highlight this objective. So here's the agenda for today's meeting. I will start with a brief presentation on our outreach efforts, the Global Day of Service, Chai Chat in LA, and the Artist Series presentation, and additional ways you can engage with our community and volunteer to help our group grow and flourish. And then I will hand the screen over to Dr. Weindorf and Dr. Shomshubra Chakraborty. After we hear their story, we will have a Q&A. Please remember to type your questions in the chat so that we can answer them during the Q&A. So through Fulbright in the classroom and outreach at community events, such as the annual India Day event at the University of Pittsburgh and at the 2024 Refugee Summit on Creating Belonging in Schools and Communities in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which was held by the Center for Schools and Communities in Pennsylvania, our members are sharing their Fulbright experience with students and the community. In the first week of October, the Inda Interest Group organized and coordinated multiple events across the world to foster community service and social change. The activities range from healthcare, environmental sustainability, cross-cultural engagement, through food and fundraising efforts for social causes, including supporting children's education. Students at Ithaca College, New York, hosted a bake sale to benefit Wheels of Women and the Cultural Academy of Peace in Kerala. In Lucknow, India, a free health camp was organized to provide diagnostic and preventive care to the local community, while a tree planting was organized to encourage environmental sustainability. In Mississippi, a board member volunteered at a food bank. In Pittsburgh, 100 guests at Family House, a comforting haven for families undergoing medical treatment, were fed a Tamil meal. In Northern California, funds were raised at a high school alumni event for underserved children in India. In Chennai, India, students at MOP Vaishnav College distributed food to underserved communities. And the Kentucky chapter supported the Red Cross's relief efforts to mitigate the destruction caused by back-to-back hurricanes Helene and Milton. In the first week of October, the interest group organized and coordinated multiple events across the world. Wait, sorry. Oh dear. Anyway, so earlier this month, we met in LA. We met in person. There were 5 of us, and we were 5 of us from 5 different backgrounds, and we talked about you know just sorry, I need a minute. It was our chai chat meeting, and we had we had a current grantee, we had a couple of alumni and 4 alumni, and we talked about things from environmental change and oh, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. And I'm going to move on. Okay. Here is we also had an artist series presentation. This was it was done by Lucia Thomas, and who's a Fulbright alumnus. And Persis, can you share the link to the YouTube? Y'all can, if y'all missed her presentation, you can watch it on the YouTube, on our group's YouTube channel.
I've shared it.
Okay, thank you. And the presentation was on the ephemeral melodies and ecstatic rhythms of Baul fakirs that are interwoven with the sprawling network of Bengal's folk traditions. And this is the first in our visual and performing arts series. Okay, so here are some other ways you can be involved. You can share your story and a photo we can post as a FIIG feature on social media. If you are a filmmaker, we would love to showcase your work at the film festival, which will be in May 2025. Join us in celebrating, you can join us in celebrating the mother languages of India. Submit your insight or reflection about a text written by an Indian author. Your submission will be shared on our social media pages throughout February of next year. Additional details can be found by scanning the QR code or from the link provided in the chat. You can also host a chai chat in your city. We can connect you with alumni in your area and help with some funding for the event. You can be a presenter in the Visual and Performing Arts Artist Series. You can organize a service day event during the week ending January 19th. You can participate in the climate change discussion series, and details will be shared shortly. Sorry, I need to go back. You can be a mentor for our writing program or host a current grantee in the US. And also, if you are adept at using MailChimp, video editing, or website management, our Director of Communications can use help. Finally, if you would like to be a part of our dynamic board, we need a treasurer. Now, why would a virtual group need a treasurer, you ask? Well, like other chapters, we have operating costs, such as for MailChimp, and marketing costs for the creation of flyers. We also need to pay honoraria to some of our presenters, especially non-US based alumni. Some program costs are partially funded by grants by the Fulbright Association, but we will be doing some fundraising to cover the remainder. And now that I'm done with my public radio spiel, here are some cool sayings about collaboration. All of them reflect what today's speakers bring to the table. I am honored and delighted to introduce you to Dr. David Weindorf and Dr. Shomshabur Chakraborty, and you are in for a treat. Oh, wait, not quite the end. Links to Dr. Weindorf and Dr. Chakraborty's professional lives are on the screen. I would highly recommend checking out their very impressive professional accomplishments. However, I would like to share a few things you would not find on their resume, because collaborations are as much about connecting as professionals as they are about connecting as people. Inspired by his grandfather and having an innate connection to the soil, David decided to become a soil scientist when he was 7 years old and never strayed from that path. So far, he has worked in more than 30 countries around the world, on every continent except Antarctica. He has co-authored peer-reviewed research papers with both his children, who are now 21 and 24 years old. He is strongly committed to serving his community as well as his professional field. He has coached soils judging teams at 3 different universities, and for several years he served as a courtside announcer for high school basketball and volleyball. His expertise in his field is highly regarded. He testified before a U.S. Senate subcommittee in the 2015 Gold King mine spill, and as an academician, he rose to serve as the B.L. Allen Endowed Chair of Pedology at Texas Tech University, the same lab he had worked in as an undergraduate student. When he isn't working, he enjoys being outdoors, going for walks, hiking, kayaking, etc. His talents extend to the arts. He used to be the lead singer in a country music band in college. His family also benefits from his creativity. Over the 29 years that he has been married, he has become renowned for preparing elaborate surprises for his wife. Our second guest, Dr. Shomshabur Chakraborty, is joining us from Kharagpur, near Kolkata in India. One of Shom's hobbies is quizzing. To quote him, I absolutely love also traveling the world with my family. I've had the privilege of working with scientists from 16 countries across all continents, except for Antarctica, a truly enriching experience that has broadened my perspectives. Shom acquired a passion for American football while he was a graduate research assistant for Dr. Weindorf at Louisiana State University. Shom is such an avid fan of American college football that 16 years later, he still wakes up, even if the game is in the middle of the night in India, to follow NSU's NCAA games. And like most Bengalis, Shom is an avid cricket and soccer enthusiast. Another dimension to Shom is that he enjoys cooking. His favorite dish is biryani, a royal and much more flavorful version of a rice pulao. When he travels abroad, he often cooks Indian meals for his American friends who delight in sharing a taste of Indian culture. David, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I need for you to enable screen sharing real quick.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing and
There we go. I got it. Is that coming through for everybody? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to present. This is really, an amazing opportunity to share what Sam and I have been able to accomplish together, and it's really a pleasure to be with you all this morning. So, I want to talk to you today about our career-defining partnership. That is something that has really come to define both of our careers. To start off, I'll give you a little bit about my background. I have a bachelor's degree in range management, a master's in soil science, a PhD in agronomy. I've served on the faculty of 3 different universities at Tarleton State, Louisiana State University, and at Texas Tech University. And across my career, I've had some really amazing highlights. I've been a Fulbright Scholar in Romania, a Fulbright Specialist to the Indian Institute of Technology in Kharagpur, fellow and presidential award winner in the Soil Science Society of America, as aforementioned, the BLL and endowed chair of pedology at Texas Tech University. Thus far in my career, I have more than 230 peer-reviewed publications with more than 6,000 citations of my work and an H-index of 45. I did produce an Emmy-nominated documentary film, and I will be submitting that to the FIIG Film Festival as well. And I collaborated with many different groups, both within the United States and around the world, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, Agricultural Research Service, and others, funding from the Environmental Protection Agency, National Science Foundation, and others. I'm a student-focused professor, passionate about education. I've chaired 14 master's committees and 6 doctoral committees, and 6 of my former graduate students have now gone on to become academicians themselves, among them Dr. Chakraborty. I have 5 awarded patents, and one of those has been commercially licensed as well. Well, I want to tell you, in life, we plan a lot, we work hard, to make sure that we execute on things well, but sometimes there's also luck involved. And in selecting Sam, I got unbelievably lucky. After joining Louisiana State University, LSU, in 2007, and hiring a research associate to help direct my research program, I needed to hire a doctoral student and put out a call, received a lot of applications from all over the world. Many of these folks highly qualified. I mean, I had a stack of papers, 2 inches thick. But ultimately, I was like, let me choose this guy, Sam Chakraborty. He looks really talented, right? This kid from India. So Sam arrived on August 8th, 2008, respectful, shy, a world away from home, not knowing anyone. I didn't know it at the time, but that simple choice would literally redefine both of our careers. Among the first things that we discussed when Sam landed in Louisiana were some cultural considerations, timing, right? Hey, be at the office when I arrive. I'm kind of a morning person. Leave after I leave, those sorts of things, sort of set the tone for the other students. Work hard, but also take some time to have fun. Attend some football games, make friends, go to the beach, do whatever. Smoking. Sam, when he showed up, was a smoker. And I said, in our research group, we don't smoke. And sort of the running joke is, as soon as I told him that, he literally stopped smoking that day and never smoked again in his life because he was so afraid I would fire him if I found out he was a closet smoker. Standing up and standing down. Contrary to Indian custom, I said, listen, when I walk in the room, you don't need to stand up. Just stay seated. It's okay, right? We played chess. We had silly fun. And I worked to immerse Sam in American culture. So here you see, crawfish boil at LSU, us going out for a holiday celebration, drinking a beer, making s'mores, carving pumpkins, all kinds of things, right? Just living the life that we live in America. Well, we got to work in the field, and Sam's research was focused on using a portable spectroscopy system for quantifying petroleum hydrocarbon pollution in soils. And of course, a key part of every soil scientist's work is field sampling. So we got out there, we got the boots on, and we got dirty in the bayou, collecting samples, some of these messy oil samples and those kinds of things. Spent a lot of time hoping to sort of avoid alligators as well, because we certainly have them down there. Well, Sam's research progressed. We partnered with some others to help. Dr. Ben Lee served on his graduate committee, and he helped us with predictive data modeling. He's an experimental statistician at LSU to this day. And again, he served on Sam's graduate committee. Also, we reached out to Drs. Yufeng Yi, Christine Morgan, and Yuanda Zhu as my research associate. All of them helped us with this VisNear data modeling. right? Which was really, really impressive. There you can see all those kind of oil-laden soil samples, from the very heavy tar stuff all the way to the clean sand sitting there on the counter. Well, Sam's research results were compelling, and his first ever publication was in the Journal of Environmental Quality. I mean, this is a high impact, highly respected journal. I mean, this isn't some small regional journal that no one's heard of. This is a really big deal. And his work made the cover of the CSA News magazine, published by the Soil Science Society of America. Then, literally after that paper came out, within 2 weeks, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill occurred. And we got a phone call from the U.S. Coast Guard, and they said, "We understand that you have a new technology that can rapidly measure oil pollution in the field. We need you to demonstrate that for us on site at Grand Isle, Louisiana." And so here you can see we're in the field with our research team demonstrating this for the U.S. Coast Guard. Okay. And this is what that essentially looks like. Here on the y-axis, you see reflectance. For clean sand that doesn't have any oil associated with it, you see those red and blue lines, right, that reflect a lot of light. But when they become laden with oil or pollution, that reflectance decreases dramatically, and we can measure that very precisely with reflectance spectroscopy. These particular samples came from Pensacola Beach, Florida, as we monitored tar levels and oil levels all across the Gulf Coast. Well, Sam's research was strongly recommended by the U.S. Coast Guard's High Impact Technology Transfer, or HIT team, for use. This is directly from their internal report. The HIT team highly recommends the use of the reflectance spectrometer on this spill and for future responses. So in conducting this research, I'm here to tell you that Sam didn't just finish a PhD, he set the standard for excellence. He produced multiple publications in top international journals. His research was applied directly to a national disaster, one of the worst in U.S. history. But then, just like that, he graduated and he set off on his career. And this is one of the biggest challenges that academicians have, right? You get all this momentum going, you're working with these students, and then poof, they graduate and they're gone. So then Sam found his way, right? After a short postdoc in the United States, he entered academia in India, serving at 2 smaller schools. I'm going to butcher these names, but I'll try. Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, and for the second one, I'm just going to say UBKV. All right. And so he joined the faculty there and started a fledgling program of his own, teaching classes in soil science and conducting some research. Now, although Sam had graduated and started his own career as an academician, we continued to conduct research together, even across the great distance that was between us. Sam became sort of a specialist in vis-near spectroscopy, visible near infrared spectroscopy. And I became sort of a specialist in X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy. Now, both of these technologies are sort of complementary, but they have different strengths in different areas. And then one night, and of course, this is where all great stuff happens, right? All these monumental breakthroughs in scientific discovery. We're having a drink one night at a bar, and we produced a novel idea. What if we combined the 2 data sets? What if we took X-ray fluorescence data and combined it with vis-near spectroscopy data for, predictive modeling? We ran some initial tests. The data was compelling, and across many different soil properties, clay content, plant essential nutrients, cation exchange capacity, salinity, pH, combining these data sets led to a 10% improvement in predictive accuracy relative to either technology in isolation. After we patented this technology, we started to extensively publish our findings, and our results were independently verified by a separate research group in Australia. With additional testing, applications, and development, several additional patents followed. With patents and extensive publications in hand, we then worked to market our technologies at Tech Connect and through the NSF I-Core program. A few years after the first patent was awarded, we successfully licensed it to a company in Australia called Eccentric, who is currently bringing that technology to market. And in 2024, this year, we both actually received our first royalty disbursement from these licensed patents, which is like, yes, we've done it. We've actually commercialized the technology. So Sam and I recognize the value of our continued strong collaboration. And we set out to develop something what we call an annual research retreat. Okay. So once a year, somewhere in the world, we get together for 3 to 4 days. We meet up, we frame out research studies and papers for the year ahead. We determine who will lead, what data needs to be collected, our timelines, target journals, all of these things, right? We've had these in the US and India, Brazil, Romania, Italy, the United Arab Emirates. Okay. And I got to tell you, we not only do a lot of work with this, but we have a lot of fun as well. There's an unsubstantiated report that eating junk food and maybe having an adult beverage or two may be involved as well. Okay. But lest any questions ever come up about the value of these retreats, all one has to do is search for our collaborative output. Because on every one of these retreats, we set the framework for dozens of papers that are set to follow. Sometimes we incorporate field work, go out and actually collect samples. Sometimes we simply write and coordinate and provide guidance to our international collaborators. Well, then another monumental step occurred in Sam's career. In 2016, he joined IIT Kharagpur. And as you know, this is the mother of all IITs. Once my student and an emergent academician, my mentorship of Sam evolved more towards empowering him to build his own program, students, and academic legacy at an institution which many people consider and is widely considered to be the Harvard of India. While we continue to work strongly together, Sam took leadership roles and integrated his students into research much more strongly. For his doctoral students, we took the old model that he and I worked on together when he was my student and applied that to his students, the 3-chapter model for dissertations. And that is publishing 3 independent peer-reviewed papers and making those chapters of the dissertation. In paper 1, Sam and I would provide considerable assistance to the student to really help them get their footing, so to speak. By paper 2, the student takes a much stronger role, not only in conducting the research, but also writing the paper. And by paper 3, the student operates almost independently, leading all aspects of the research and paper. Well, one of the ways that this ties into Fulbright is in 2017, Sam and I coordinated a call to the Fulbright Specialist Program with our research strengths at its core. IIT Kharagpur placed a call to the program for a specialist in proximal sensor analysis of soils. At the same time, I offered my CV forward to the program as a specialist in the proximal sensor analysis of soils. Who are you going to call? The perfect match is made, right? So in early 2018, I was selected to go to IIT Kharagpur as part of the Fulbright Specialist Program. And during my trip to India, we worked relentlessly to collect new data, which resulted in a future publication. And while we were there, I was there for 2 or 3 weeks, we also wrote an additional paper together to codify the Fulbright Exchange. So this was published in Waste Management, Compost Salinity Assessment through Portable X-ray Fluorescence Spectroscopy, or Spectrometry. And you'll notice in the acknowledgement that we gratefully acknowledge support from the U.S. Fulbright Specialist Program in conducting this research. Well, one of the things that I'm particularly proud of with Sam and I is what I'm going to call the efficiency dance, okay? We've worked together so long and we know each other so well that we don't have any gaps in terms of how we work together, right? We share a like mindset in writing and research. We're progressive, we're novel, formidable. We push ourselves and our students to constantly make progress. We work at the same speed and efficiency, and this has been a hallmark of our partnership. Truly, we know that if needed, our commitment to one another is 24/7, 365, applied to projects, reports, publications, etc. And one of the simplest truisms is that we use to our advantage is that we have this 9.5-hour time difference between Kharagpur and where I'm located this morning in Georgia. So I work on a paper, a project, a presentation, and as I go to sleep in the evening, I send my work to Sam. And while I'm sleeping, he's working on it, right? And after he's done working on it all day and he's going to bed, he'll send that to me when I'm waking up, and then I'm working on it while he's sleeping, right? So it is a dance of efficiency that literally keeps the work constantly in motion. The other thing that we discovered is between the two of us, one person's strengths complement the other person's weaknesses. For example, I'm a robust field scientist. That is where I'm in my comfort zone, right? Reading the landscape, collecting samples, interpreting things on the landscape. But I'm only a basic statistician, right? I know my way around a linear regression, but That is not a forte of mine. But by comparison, Sam's statistical skills are formidable. But his comfort zone is working with data as opposed to conducting these robust field campaigns. So together we cover all aspects of the research. So for a typical peer-reviewed research paper, this might be how it goes, right? I write the introduction, the literature review, begin the materials and methods. And traditionally, years ago, I also did a lot of the data collection and data production, though this is now shifting more to Sam in the latter years. Then Sam finishes the materials and methods, analyzes the data, creates the plots, the visualizations, writes the results, and much of the discussion, but then also leaves a few sections for me to comment on the interpretation of that data back to the landscape or the field setting. In other words, we have all this data, it's showing these plots, but what does that mean on the actual landscape, right? Since he hasn't been on that landscape here in America, for instance, that's up to me to go ahead and create that. So together we write the conclusions and the abstract and the paper is submitted, and we followed this model over and over and over. In all that we do, Sam and I feel very passionately that not only do we want to push hard, but we're called to pay it forward as good stewards of the academy. We work to advance others in their careers. We take an interest in people, not just as colleagues, but as people. We invest in their lives, their joys, their challenges. I got to tell you just a quick little side story here. Sam has a son, and we were working on a paper, obviously, at the time. We're constantly working on things. And when his son was born, we had a new paper that had just been accepted for publication. And in the acknowledgments, we put his son's name, right? Just a sort of a timestamp of our lives, right? Which is really cool. We seek to push people, right? To achieve more than they thought possible. But also, we don't want to push them so hard that they lose hope and give up. But when it comes to publishing, pushing our students to publish, every student that works under Sam and I must publish a peer-reviewed paper. We don't make exceptions for that. We want them to be competitive on the international stage. We provide mentorship for undergraduates, right? We help those in developing countries. We offer letters of support, guidance towards promotion and tenure, award nominations, things of that nature. I'll give you an example. When I was talking about mentorship of students and things, right? There was a young lady that came to me and said she needed some help with a high school science project. And at the time, she was a sophomore in high school, and she'd found some of my peer-reviewed papers online. And I helped her, kind of came in late on the study, and she'd already, sort of gotten 70% of the way through, and there wasn't much time for me to help her. So she did okay in that project, but there were some flaws in the experimental design. It wasn't perfect. We did what we could. But the next year, she said, I really want to do something that a scientist would do. And I said, okay, we can do that. You're part of the team. So as a junior in high school, Julia Caggiulari and I and her father traveled to North Dakota, and we sampled hundreds of samples of lignite coal from 3 active coal mines, working with colleagues both at Texas Tech and in North Dakota. She processed all of these samples in my laboratory. We flew Sam Chakraborty in from India to Texas Tech to literally work with her side by side on the statistical modeling. She went on to win first prize in the national science competition in the United States and a $12,000 scholarship to Duke University. Her research that she did with Sam and I was published in the International Journal of Coal Geology, and I have no doubt that at 16 years old, she was one of the youngest authors to ever publish in that journal. So this is a picture of her working with Sam. The picture that you see above there at the top is her working at my kitchen table at my house. She was all in on this, and so it was a really cool outcome. I talked a little bit about the productivity that Sam and I have achieved over the years, right? And I want to give you a sense of that. From 2014 to 2023, I'm ranked as the #1 researcher in the world in PXRF analysis of soils. Sam is ranked as #5, and everybody in the top 10 worldwide is associated with our collaborative research. Put another way, if you look at my Scopus profile, 40% of my publications in Scopus feature Sam as a co-author. He's a co-author of 83 papers with me. And Ben Lee, once his committee member on the doctoral committee, is a co-author on 50 of those papers as well. So this is sort of like the core triangle that really defines our research group. So this simple stroke of good luck in selecting him as my graduate student, again, literally came to define both of our careers. Here we are working with the Astromaterials Research Group at the NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. We got invited over there to talk with them about using some of our spectroscopy techniques and applying those to the rovers and the data that they have coming down from Mars. And in doing our research together, we have some sayings that we sort of have landed on over the years. One of these is, we move at the speed of science, but with deference to humanity. And what that means is, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. But at the same time, I don't want you to miss your kids' ball game, their school play, singing in the choir, having fun with friends, things like that. We need to also take time to enjoy life. We have greatness within us. Let us know it, grow it, and show it every day. And let us be kind when we can and firm when we must. We don't take shortcuts. We don't make up data. We don't use Chat GPT or AI to write papers. We do it by hand, old school. So as we move into the future, just a couple of slides left, our roles are being redefined as time moves on. Today, my role is less about time in the field or at the bench. It's more about connecting Dr. Chakraborty to my international network of collaborators. This last summer, he and I traveled to Italy together, and I introduced him to several faculty members that I know at Politecnico del Marche University in Ancona, Italy. And he'd been wanting to meet this group because they've been strong collaborators of mine over the years as well. And so we're looking at future opportunities of that as time goes by. Today, I serve more as a consultant, a collaborator, providing mentorship and guidance where I can, helping out in different roles, but really, serving to connect people. Sam is taking a lead in investigation with his students, and he is rapidly becoming the worldwide expert in these areas. So this spring, we've had a project we've been working on this last year. Sam Chakraborty, myself, and Ben Lee have our first book coming out that is in press right now with Elsevier. It's scheduled for release in spring of 2025. It's called Unlocking the Secrets of Soil, Applying AI and Sensor Technologies for Sustainable Land Use. We have new projects that we're continually looking to plan. We're also planning a research retreat for 2025. We may do that in Kolkata. He may come here. We may meet somewhere in between. We're sort of trying to decide that right now. And so the story continues. And again, I just want to give a huge shout out to him, his work ethic, his students for all the contributions that they've made over the years. Literally, it's been a fantastic collaboration, and it's been such a pleasure to be with you today. So I'll end there and stop sharing. And then again, I'll be glad to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, David. That was, as you had promised, very, very enlightening, and thank you for sharing that journey with us. And wish you luck in all your projects, both of you. Shom, would you like to just say hi really quickly before we start taking questions?
Yes, I mean, I've been incredibly lucky for joining as a PhD student under Dr. Weindorf, and I still thank God for the decision that I made that choice, because I also got offer from other universities also, but finally I took the offer from LSU, and still then my life moved in a different path. And thanks to all what you have done for me, and we are a great team, and hopefully in future also we are going to maintain this collaboration for better humanity, as you mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Shom. And David will also be with us for, as he said, the film festival. He's going to submit his film will be included in the film festival, but he is also helping us organize the climate change discussion series that we are putting together. So he's becoming an integral part of the India Interest Group community, and we really, really encourage all of you to just get in touch with us. Let us know how you would like to engage with the community. I see Carlin Davis is with us also, and hi, Carlin. And she was the one who actually initiated the film festival. So we're listening, and we are now open for Q&A. Any questions? If Persis, do you want to take this? I don't know if any questions came into the chat, but if you all want to just ask your questions in person, we could do that too.
Right. Since we have a small number, we can open up questions, direct questions instead of in the chat. But I'll also go through any questions that are in the chat.
There's
Sharlin,
one that
go
just
ahead.
came in. Let me read this one real quick, and then Sharlin,
Okay.
we'll get to yours right after that. Lauren says the science you have presented is overwhelming for us mere educated citizens. Is there applicable techniques that we homeowners can apply in our yards to maintain healthy soils beneficial to the climate changes happening now? In fact, yes, that's a great question. And so one of the things that Sam and I have worked on is we've gone from sort of these expensive X-ray and visible near infrared spectroscopy systems to a little handheld color sensor that you can buy on Amazon for $300. And we've used that color sensor to measure things like the organic matter content in compost, right? And now Sam's group, this is really a big thing. Sam, you need to be the one to talk about this, but talk about the work that you're doing with smartphone image analysis.
Yeah, currently our focus is using different types of smartphone images and utilizing those images and image processing and different artificial intelligence and machine learning for predicting different soil properties. So we are successful for a couple of soil properties, and my students are working on that direction, and so that we can expand our horizon. And hopefully in a couple of years from now on, we'll be able to develop our own apps. Already we have developed some of our apps which are in the testing phase. And in coming years, we are hopeful that using these apps and inexpensive imagery systems, people will be able to test their soil without sending them into expensive laboratory analysis. So
yeah, imagine just being able to take a picture with your smartphone, upload it to an app, pay 99 cents, and we can tell you what the organic matter content, the salinity, the pH. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing, right? And so those are the kinds of directions that Sam and his research team are going in right now. So
I believe Sharlin
Sharlin
put
has
a
a question
question
as
in the
well
text.
in the chat. Yeah. How did you scaffold your students' writing abilities across time? Thanks for sharing how you even use the time differences to promote collaborative writing. Sam, do you want to take that on as a question?
I think you will be better to answer this. I mean, you know it better.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we've typically done is certainly in selecting students, we need people who are solid students. We can't just take sort of, mediocre caliber students, right, to join our group. But in addition to that, once we have the students that come on, we continually work with them. It's not like I just say, you need to write a peer-reviewed paper, good luck, right? I have a research leadership discussion that I present to students on how to go through the peer review process, what it's like to write a paper, a scientific paper, the different components, the sort of cadence that it follows, as you write the paper. And I've actually given that presentation this last week, and we'll give it again next week on my campus right here in Georgia. But also in working with students, there's a lot of back and forth, right? So what I'll tell them is, oh gosh, to write a 25-page paper, it seems overwhelming, right? But write one page today, just one page, and send that to me and let me provide feedback. And I'll kind of comment on it, brush it up, improve it a little bit, and then I'll pose some questions back to the students. Okay, now based upon this, why don't you answer this, this, and this, right? And so we sort of have this back and forth, right? And then the next day they'll answer those questions. And so in doing so, we work on it together. But I also have always felt like writing a paper like this shouldn't just fall on the student completely. I mean, I'm personally writing part of it as well. I'm doing some of the writing to help them. That's why I'm a co-author on the paper with them. And one of the real beauties for me, and this is why I've published papers with both of my own children, is it provides a linkage in academic space for all time, right? Once those papers are published and they go into the library or up there, whatever, forever we will be linked together in the scientific literature. And when you start to think as an academician about what your academic tree looks like, who studied under you, Sam studied under me, I studied under B.L. Allen. Now Sam students are working under him, but I'm guessing that when he talks about his academic lineage, some of the way he looks at soils and environmental problems was influenced by me, just like my opinions were influenced by B.L. Allen, right? And so there's this lineage that comes down the academic tree. And when you have all that codified through the peer-reviewed literature, it's a really amazing thing. And that's something that ChatGPT or Microsoft's Copilot, you can't get that off of that, right? I mean, it's a very personal, important connection that you have with people. So absolutely. Any other questions that y'all have? I got to say, I give lots of scientific presentations, but this one was really fun. I even told some, I was like, hey, man, we got a friendly audience here. Let's just tell them our story, right? Because it's really been such an amazing, cool way to get together and partner on things. So,
Dr. Weindorf, can you hear me?
yes.
This is Xavier, okay. My experience is in government. So I did some research like you when I started out my master's program at Texas Christian, and I had a really good professor. And so, but I went on to government and I engaged my staff as I moved up the hierarchy to actually publish with collaborating with the university. So my question to you is, how many of your students have gone on to work in public agencies, state or federal, and continue that ethic to actually fund research or collaborate faculty to inform the science and the decisions we make?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A number of my students, I don't have the exact number, but it is probably a dozen or more, have gone on to work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and specifically the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Rebecca Fox, Riley Dayberry, John Sackett, Sarah Griffin. I mean, there's a number of them that have gone on to
the number
work.
is not important. It's like important aspect both here and in India.
Yeah, that's right. So they've continued to go out and work in a lot of public sectors, and then again, like I say, a lot of them have gone on into academia. I have a former student of mine who is an associate professor now at Oklahoma State University. Of course, Sam is in India. I've got another one who was previously a faculty member in China. Have Nora Backer at the National Research Center in Cairo, Egypt. Many different places all over the world. Sam, how about some of your students? Are they working in the public sector in India as well?
Oh yes, couple of my previous PhD students now in public sector in India, working for different, federal government jobs. So yeah, they're working in a couple of them. So
yeah. It looks like we've got a question from Coraline here. David spoke a lot about including Sam in U.S. culture. I'm curious what Sam would say David has learned about aspects of Indian culture. Sam, I'm going to let you answer this, and I would just ask you to please do the needful.
Yeah, I think that is the first thing you have learned about Indian culture. Please do the needful, it's a buzzword India. But anyway, yeah, so one thing I know that I'm not the first Indian student Dr. Weindorf had. So he had a couple of more Indian students before me in Tarleton. They were mostly doing the masters with him. But what I found that, I grew up in a country like India where we work in multi-ethnic groups and also work in different, I'd say stringent conditions. Like, I think that what I have transferred to this group is, as I had generated a tremendous appreciation for American culture, I have also seen him hosting students from different countries across the world, and that diversity, that the sense of inclusivity, and that working with multi-ethnic groups and, from different backgrounds and, mingling with them. That is a great thing. And I think that is one of the prized asset of him. And I have never seen, I have met with different professors, even in US also while doing my PhD and postdoc, but I've never seen such a, professor who is open to all different types of ideas and also open to all different types of cultures. I can tell that whenever I go these years also to his place and cook some food, and he always encouraged me to cook the food for his family. And whenever I cook, he played all the Indian music in the background. So that shows his that he's different from many of us. I mean, that is a special quality which we do not see very often, and that's the extra quality which he has.
One thing that I will add in my interaction with Indian culture, and it's the most amazing thing, is the work ethic of Indian students, Indian faculty. And I constantly bring stories back to my American students about, when I'm in India, the work ethic of the students there working late into the night on a Friday night. They're not at a football game. They're not at a party. They're in the lab working, right? And they're working to produce the best possible results because they know it is a competitive world, and they want to be right at the top of their game. Sam has told me stories about how, all of the technology companies from Google and IBM and Apple and all that, they just come right to IIT to start hiring people, right? Because they know they're going to get the best of the best, and they know what that work ethic is. And so that is incredible compliment to the students, the faculty, the culture in India. It constantly inspires me. It really does. So, Lauren had a question here. Do you have any work that pertains to the question of tree canopies across the U.S. and across the globe? Can Australia become a forested island along its coastline of several thousand miles? What I will tell you is, while my PhD is in agronomy and I do a little bit of plant stuff, most of my work is focused on soils. I will tell you that some of the work that Sam and I have gotten involved in relates to using satellite remote sensing and hyperspectral imagery for land use, land change detection over time. And so we're using standoff detection, whether you fly a drone over or use a satellite image, to look down and basically identify stresses in different areas or changes in land use over time as anthropogenic, development continues, things of that nature. So it's not so much reforestation sort of thing as it is we're sort of tracking land use changes over time as time goes by. So yeah. Well, I know we're just about at the top of the hour, so I'll wrap up there again with just one big thank you to everyone. Once again, Sam, thank you for joining today as well. Thanks to the association for the invitation to come and present. And Em, I'll send it back over to you to wrap us up.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Shom, both for speaking today, for being here with us. You're both very inspiring. It has been an absolute treat to be able to participate in your journey and get to know you a little more. It's getting to know you in the past few months has been really fun for me. I've been sharing some of your stories with my family. They've enjoyed it too. I would like to acknowledge some of our board members who are here with us today. Sherilyn, who is actually doing the mother language celebration month, was her idea, and it's already been really well received. Rajneesh Gupta, who is our vice president in India. I'm just reading the names as I see them on my screen. Nirja Vashist, our newest board member. Please welcome her to the board. She has been incredible helping us with all our social media posting. Persis Norman, she's our VP for the US. We kind of split them, but she has also been my right hand. Xavier Swamikanu, he is coordinating our climate change discussion. And I thought, and there's Lauren. Lauren is working with us on multiple projects. He's with the advocacy group and working on mother language, and he's also working with us on the climate change discussion series. And I see Cynthia Siegel. Hey, Cynthia. She was working with me on events. And so thank you, all of you, for joining us this morning. And if y'all have any further questions, please do reach out to us. And I look forward to seeing y'all again at our next event, next meeting.
That's
Anything
good.
else? Okay, all right.
Take care, everyone. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.